You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of this shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look me better. Pull out the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper than again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Deku Enters How to Train Your Dragon. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Logsnake on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. A deep rumble stirs me from my light sleep. With blurry eyes I push up from my stiff position flush against Kaken's neck and dizzily glance around. Upon seeing another dragon whiz by, sheep in its grasp, I gasp and pitch to the side. Then with a yelp, blindly reach out and dig my fingers back into the saddle, steadying myself. Right. I'm not at home in my cot. I'm flying with a pack of dragons to who knows where. A screech on the left startles me once more, and suddenly all the dragons are dipping down through the fog. Kaken. What's going on? I shakily ask, cautiously eyeing the raven-black Tsukuyumi staring through me with glazed-over eyes. It too then disappears into the haze. In response, Kaken growls lowly. With a gulp, I wiggle my toes, readying myself for whatever maneuvers might need to be made. We soar low, sometimes only dogging the sea stacks that grow out of the murk by a hair. Heart beating wildly in my chest and breathing heavy, I rub slow circles along Kaken's shifting scales while still staying sharp for signs of danger. Kaken dips again, and suddenly the rocky side of a barren mountain rushes towards us. My eyes go wide in panic, but then out of the corner of my eye I make out a line of dragons vanishing into the cliff wall. Growling faintly, Kaken rips his head to the side, pushing us towards the rest of the pack. My curiosity quickly shrivels up as the reality of just how many deadly dragons there are hits me like a hammer. I trust Kaken. I don't trust the others. Hunkering down in my saddle, we drift through a hot, dark tunnel. Ahead, I hear a mixture of whimpers and screeches along with an echo-y rumble. My ears pop as the pressure and noise level flux around me, and soon we erupt from the tight passage into an open chamber. My breath hitches at the sight. Hundreds of dragons, most my village has no records of, are crawling up massive stalagmites or roosting high in the dome. In the middle, other dragons drop sheep and fish into a steaming, glowing pit. I can't believe my eyes. This is it, it has to be. This is the dragon nest my father has been furiously searching for, and the chief before him. Below me, Kaken goes stiff, head shaking violently and breathing erratic. He abruptly pitches to the side and we land in a secluded corner. Filled with worry, I scramble off his back, my legs numb as they hit the ground. Words flow out of my mouth haphazardly while I round to meet the Kagutsuchi. Kaken. What's going on? Is this the dash? I freeze upon seeing the dragon before me, his eyes blown wide and teeth bared. I WHP around again, scanning the nesting dragon types, few that I know. Omega, Omega, Beta Omega. Sweat beads across my forehead. While my knowledge about dragons may be limited, I know enough to realize that this situation is very bad. Kaken dash, he shoves his snout into my hair, panicked breath slowing down into calmer huffs. When he pulls back, his eyes are closer to normal and more focused. Kaken. Are you alright? He stares at me for a split second before turning up his nose and sniffing the air. Next, with a low growl he raises his tail around me and begins to stalk forward. Being pushed along, we stay close to the cave walls, creeping behind different formations. Far to the side, I carefully watch the light pulsating from the large pit in the center of the cavern as more dazed dragons stumble in and out. Now that I really pay attention, I notice that most of the dragons are sleeping, only stirring when Kaken passes, their noses tilting up and throats creating a strained whimper. In the meantime, the Kagutsuchi looks tense, movements small and sharp. We continue on, until in the distance a lava-red, thick-skinned hachiman frantically flaps our way. He lands with wide eyes and a soft growl, hopping towards Kaken. In amazement, I watch as the new dragon rubs into his alpha. His alpha. Did we just find part of Kaken's pack? Mouth agape, I closely regard the exchange between the two, their hushed rumbles and growls mixing with rapid head tilts. It's then that the hachiman seems to notice Kaken's injured tail, and in turn, me. He gets low to the ground, claws scraping against rock. Protectively, Kaken steps between us, and the hachiman stands down. Just then, a gold and black Ryujin uncoordinatedly drifts our way, tail sparking. Sporting a large grin, he happily joins the Kagutsuchi and hachiman. The former of the two rumbles excitedly and the latter just huffs, though I can tell Kaken is pleased too. Their intricate conversation continues, multiple glances thrown my way, and I start to get increasingly nervous. Especially when some type of bright pink, horned dragon oozing acid joins the crowd along with an unenthusiastic white and red crossbreed-looking type. My foot taps against the ground, speed escalating as I swch between watching the growing pack and glowing pit, which is getting brighter and brighter. A small dragon flies above it, dropping a single fish into the steam, and then begins to whiz away. Suddenly, a thunderous roar erupts from the hole. My eyes go wide when the largest monster I've ever seen bursts out of the fog and snaps its jaw around the tiny dragon. Bile rises in my throat while the ground begins to spin. All around me dragons take to the air in frenzy. They ram into each other, swarming around the monster in a hurricane of fire, their soft purrs contradicting the absolute chaos. Kaken. I scream, but my eyes stay fixated in awe and horror on the scene before me. The largest dragon had seemed to be calming down, until my yell pierced the air. One of its eyes now snaps open, burning gaze ripping into me. It then looks behind me to the only dragons in the chamber not joining in on the flight. It sniffs the air, and then it roars. The cave walls shake around us, smaller stalactites plummeting down, and my hands fly up to cover my ears as I cower. From behind, teeth clamp around my shirt collar. Suddenly, I'm on top of Kaken, whose wings are splayed all the way out, blocking his pack from the monster. From across the cavity, the two dragons glare at each other, and then Kaken is releasing an explosion and attempting to bolt up. Reality hitting me, my foot slides into the pedal and we climb into the air. Not looking back, I hear the monster roar once more along with the shrieks of the dragon swarm. Then Kaken slows, letting his 5 pack members rush ahead. Fear courses through me, and it takes everything I have to not break down here and now. What's going on? This wasn't supposed to happen. Abruptly, Kaken hisses in warning, and I glimpse at a rock falling from the ceiling. We swerve left, speeding into the tunnel. Cold air rushes past from ahead, while sweat trickles down my neck from behind. A wave of fire escapes the mountainside right as we soar out into the fog. Once free of the mountain, Kaken calls out and receives multiple responses. With that, we fly out of the fog field to meet up with his very distraught-looking pack. Thankfully, as far as I can tell at this point none seem injured, but it would be best to get them onto safe land all the same. As my adrenaline wears off, I go limp against the saddle. Let's head back, I wearily mutter, staring out at the dark sky without really seeing. I fall asleep to the chorus of flapping wings and soft growls. Wearily, I snake back towards the village, trying and failing to make sense of what just happened a few hours before. According to our records, nests are supposed to be places where omegas and betas congregate to get new alphas if they lose track of their previous leader. What I just saw though looked nothing like that information. The whole thing seemed more like a bee's nest, like one alpha ruling, controlling the other dragons. A shiver runs up my spine, and I hasten along, ducking through the forest. However, when I finally reach my village outskirts, I pause. A nervous energy buzzes around the town and everything seems louder. Switching directions, I speed walk home. As I push open the door, I'm greeted with the otherworldly sight of my father's face in the firelight, the knife he's sharpening glinting dangerously. Slowly, his dark green eyes turn to meet mine, lips spread out into a controlled smile. Hello, Izuku. I gulp. Hey, Chief. Everyone's back. Any luck finding the nest? His features harden as he aggressively continues to sharpen the blade. Afraid not. We never seem to be able to maneuver through the fog. I nod, carefully closing the door behind me. When did you turn back? A few days ago, comes a monotone reply. At that I inwardly sigh in relief. The dragons travel much faster than boats, so there's no way the warriors would have been near us last night. Stepping further into the house, I grab my satchel along with a semi-stale roll before turning to leave. Suddenly my father rises, blocking the path. I heard from your friend Nito that you've been out quite a lot, often at odd hours. Staring me down, the man's lips pull further into a frown, waiting for my response. Yeah. I've been cataloging plants. I like to map out the forest. Nothing in my father's face gives away his emotions, and with a contemplative hum along with the twirl of his knife, he meanders back over to the fire. You have somewhere to be, son. Do you not? My eyes widen in shock, and with a stuttered apology, I stumble out of the house towards the village healer. The cold air hits me like a wall after the uncomfortable, suffocating heat I just experienced. Rushing past huts, I collapse against the mead hall side, heart pounding in my chest. My father just called me son. He never calls me son. There's something very wrong. After a few deep breaths, I push off the wall, trying to avoid the returned warriors as I resume my trek to Shuzenji's. I hadn't noticed last night, but in our hurry to escape the cave one of Kaken's pack members had lagged behind. It didn't rejoin until after I had fallen asleep, so when awoken to Kaken needing to make a different maneuver, I was greeted with a bleeding, otherwise light pink, dragon, its paper-thin looking scales shimmering against the rising sun. Worry laced with fear bubbled inside of me by the time we had landed in the hidden cove, and I immediately left for the village. Still the dread hasn't died away. If nothing else, it's only grown. I don't know how to treat dragon wounds. Fretfully entering the medicine hut after a quick knock, I peer around the space, ceiling covered in dangling colored feathers and outer walls lined with dragon scale oils. I frown at the flasks. How could I ever have accepted this as a dragon's fate? A high, croaky voice pulls me away from my troubled thoughts to the old woman limping out the back room. Ah, Izuku. Injured again? Haha. Not this time, Shuzenji. But a friend of mine is. Awkwardly rubbing the back of my neck, I jump when she hits my calf with her wooden cane. Move, boy. Now what ails your friend? She hobbles to a shelf, producing a step stool almost out of thin air. It's she. She cut herself on a rock. The elderly woman hums, surveying different bubbling substances. Her small hand hovers over a green one before moving to white. Charred dragon's eye mixed with a touch of honey should do the trick. I reach out to grab it. Wait. Dragon's eye? My hand instantly recoils. It's really not that bad. Maybe something less much. She side-eyes me with pursed lips before stepping down from her stool. I'll go get a poultice. It won't be as effective, but her voice fades for a moment as she moves into the back, only to soon return. Recommend the mountain hot springs if she can make the hike. Bouncing on the ball of my feet, I watch as she purposely shuffles around the hut, plucking clean bandages out of a basket and wrapping them tightly. All right. She turns my way, handing me the supplies. So do you need me to come along? No. Thank you, I reply genuinely. With a small smile, the woman then tells me to stay out of trouble and ushers me out the door with the tip of her cane. I hurry away and across town, eyes nervously flickering in all directions while sweaty hands clutch the items close. It feels like everyone's examining me, whispers breathing down my back. I break into the tree lean and make a beeline for the bowl, legs pumping. Ducking under a branch, I trip through the rocky passage and enter the cove. My head stays down while fumbling with bandages. It's official, we're leaving. Let's treat those wounds and pack up. Yep, we're taking a little vacation, forev. I blank, eyes landing on the chiseled form a few yards in front from me, his red hair stuck out in lethal spikes, his hard eyes narrowed, his curled lips showing off pointed teeth, his tattoo-covered arms coiling, his scaled navel dipping down to. Shrieking, I stumble back. In my frenzy, my foot slips out from under me but, after hitting the ground, I keep scrambling away. Wildly looking about, I see the dragons all on edge, crouching stiffly around the wounded one. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's one dragon missing. My breathing is ragged when I pull my gaze back to the teenager before me. From deep within my mind my mother's stories whisper, and the earth begins to spin. This isn't real. This can't be right. It's all in my head. Because if this is real, then this whole time my village has been hunting down people. Bile rises in my throat along with the hands lifting at my sides. I turn to really look at the Kagutsuchi for the first time and a part of my breaks. I can't read him any longer, he's put his walls back up. With a strained gulp, I stare at the dragon man once more, and then, I hear a detached voice leave my lips. Your friend needs help. His eyes widen, causing a distant part of me to discern that he comprehends my words. However, as I raise myself up off of the grass, the teen goes back to bending his knees and snarling. I subtly gape at him. Maybe I should leave. Kaken will obviously no longer want me here. I'm not his pack. Pressing my lips shut, I cringe and toss the bandages at the young man's feet, who I now fully grasp to be the Hachiman, and then I begin to back away. I'm sorry. The words are out before I even know what they mean, what they are for. Am I sorry for the way this group is ostracized? Sorry that they can't be safe as dragons, ironic for all the physical power they possess. Or maybe, I'm sorry that they have to remember they're part human if Mom's stories are as true as she made them sound all those years ago. But then again, haven't I always known? The numbness ebbs away as I realize that yes, I haven't been seeing Kaken as an animal since almost the beginning. Now, I see him as my friend. My voice is weak, trembling slightly at just how much this all is. It will be easier to treat your friend's wound if they turn human. That's of course assuming the injury will shift proportionally. It's the Hachiman's turn to take a step back, brows furrowed in confusion. Why? His voice comes out thick, slurred and used and different. Why? I shrug my shoulders. You're Kaken's friend. And he's mine. And I want to help. It sounds overly simple, because it is, but it's as much as I can handle right now. Right now, I just need to focus on what's in front of me. If, I turn my head to Kaken, bottom lip pulled between my teeth. If you want me to that is. He glares at me, something between suspicion and amazement I think, and then looks at all of the other dragons, and then me again. Hesitantly, he steps forward, and I know that he feels just as nervous as I do. Still, when his snout gets close, I don't feel scared. So. When were you going to tell me that you understood everything I've said? I whisper jokingly, only regret the words as soon as they escape my mouth, and Kaken smirks as heat rises to my cheeks. I've been spilling my guts to him for the last few weeks, speaking of my training with Yagi and my being bullied in town and my lack of self-confidence before my father and... A warm puff of air blown into my face pulls me back to reality. Alright. I pluck the poultice and bandages off the grass before carefully moving toward the scared, shaking Omega. Behind me I sense the Hachiman closely watching my every move. Just then, Kaken growls something and the pack relaxes a bit, but still eyes me warily. One deep breath later, I shoot the pink dragon the brightest smile I can muster at the moment. Hey. It's nice to meet you. I'm Izukumidoriya, and with my foot catching on the side of a rock, I fall flat on my face. We sit around a small fire, the cloudy sky doing nothing to warm me as winter continues to set in. I fiddle with the dirt below me, digging into it with the toe of my boot. I have a lot of questions. Slightly embarrassed, just feeling so out of place among the others, I eye the group. All but Ijiro are still in their dragon forms around the fire, except for Ochako, who is resting near the rock wall. In response Ijiro laughs, sharp teeth becoming less threatening by the minute. I bet you do. I duck my head, hiding the small smile brought on by the boy, before looking back up. Well, I guess to start, do you guys always stay as dragons? And not that there's something wrong with that. It's just, at least on Yui, you probably would be safer. I look over at Kaken's tail. What must his pack think? I hurt their alpha. I hurt their friend. Ijiro genuinely smiles again, leaning over to slap me on the back. I jump. Kaken growls. Ijiro pulls away. Ahem, anyway, everyone has their own reasons, man, but the main consensus is that humans are pretty bad. They pushed our ancestors out and all. So, our people escaped to develop their own culture. Actually, a lot of dragons are ostracized from their own packs if they act too human. Like, why would you want to look like your enemies? I stare wide eyes at the young man, my mouth slightly ajar like a fish. Oh, no man, don't worry. Our pack doesn't operate like that. It takes a few seconds for my lips to press together again. Alright. Speaking of packs, what happened back at that nest? It said out of curiosity, but quickly the air around me shifts and Ijiro pales. Subtly, he chances a glance over at Kaken. It's hard to explain, man. All I can think to say is that if a beta or omega is close enough to a nest and lose their alpha's scent, they can get pulled in, and can only escape if the nest keeper lets them go, dies, or their specific alpha comes. Okay. Well, that's messed up. I scratch the back of my head, face scrunched in thought. But why? It's the hierarchy. The nest keepers have rights which I don't think translate to your island. But I guess all in all the purpose is to mate. In that casual tone, he gives me a thumbs up. Wait. Mate. Mate. But, aren't you like, kinda my age? The other teen eyes me curiously and then begins a conversation with Mina. Across the way I feel cold, heterochromatic eyes bore into me, trying to pull out some deep, hidden truth. My father wants to find the nest, I whisper. At this Ijiro turns back my way with a chuckle. Don't worry. Only dragons can find the nest. Just then, a shiver runs down my spine as a flock of ravens breaks out of the treeline above. I clench my fist. Even so, you guys should go. After she rests, I nod my head towards the sleeping dragon. You all should leave. Kaken looks at me coldly, his tail slamming against the ground. I respond with my own glare, my eyes shining with resolve. I want him to stay, but I can't be that selfish. Come on, Kaken. You have to know I'm right. We found your pack, and if you can turn into a human yourself then you can ride out on one of your friends' backs. You can find someone who can actually help you. I have nothing more to offer. You have no reason to stay. By the end my voice has trailed off into a whisper, but I know he's heard me. I look down, flinching when I hear the dragon stalk away to the edge of the bowl, as much seclusion as one can hope for. I didn't mean to dash. I know he gets what you're saying, bro, Ijiro cuts in. You want to protect him, which is super manly of you by the way. Problem is, Katsuki is as stubborn as a mountain. And he doesn't transform. I think sometimes he'd rather die than transform. I snap my gaze up in concern. He can't. No. He won't. I furrow my brows, confusion and worry plain as day on my face. After a moment, Ijiro sighs and leans in close. Katsuki hates humans. If we want to shift that's our own DMN business, he says, but he himself won't. Another sigh. Our pack used to be over twice this size, but last spring a fleet attacked us and most didn't make it out. They even took out previous pack leader Katsuki's mom. I watch as a tear rolls down Ijiro's sharp cheekbone, red eyes looking so defeated. His words echo in my head. Humans took Kaken's mom. Ever since then, we've been raiding villages, searching for any part of that fleet. Well, it started off as just that, but then Katsuki got more and more frustrated until no human, keeping to themselves or not, was off his die list. We sit in silence, the only sounds belonging to the crackling fire. It's late, I note. So much darker than it had been a few minutes ago. Or at least what feels like a few minutes ago. Listen Izuku, I'll talk to Katsuki. Maybe I can convince him to leave like you suggested. Just give him some time. I numbly nod, staring off into the night. To my side Ijiro explains that tomorrow morning they'll go on a hunt, bring Ochako along to stretch her wings and get her on the path back to recovery. And maybe that will give me time to talk to Katsuki again. Just in case Ijiro fails. I don't sleep much that night, feeling all too exposed in the hidden cove. It feels like everyone's watching me, eyeing me like a threat, like a monster. And honestly, why shouldn't they? My dull, green orbs flutter open to stare at the early morning sky. Wherever the sun is across the island, it won't be touching this part of Yui for another couple hours. With half-lidded eyes, I struggle into a sitting position on the grass bed and numbly glance around. All the dragons seem to be gone except for Katsuki. They're probably out on that hunt. I bite my lip and look away from the dragon's tense form, deciding to go relieve myself out in the woods. That will at least give me a few minutes to think. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Katsuki's ear flap twitch right before a twig snaps behind me. Going to turn around, I halt at the sharp metal pressed against my neck. Suddenly a hand is painfully clutching my wrist while a solid form presses into my back. The dragon is instantly on all 4 feet, a warning growl rumbling from his throat accompanying the hint of panic flaring in his eyes. At the same time a voice behind me sneers, "Hello, son." My BLD runs colder than the knife to my neck as I struggle to process the situation, the only thing really grounding me being the bruising pain to my bony arm. So this is what happens when I leave you alone. You run off to conspire with dragons. You betray your people, your family. They kill members of the clan. They killed Inko, Izuku. And you, his voice wavers, barely holding back unbridled rage. I choke out a whimper as the blade presses harder against my windpipe. Dad. Please. It's not what you think. Just listen. Listen. He shouts, twisting my arm, before flinging me to the ground and delivering a bone-shattering kick to my rib cage. The gasp that escapes my throat is drowned out by a furious roar. Instantly I'm yanked back onto my feet. Hot, panting breaths puff out on my nape as my father calms himself. The words he says next are cold and detached. This whole time, everything has been a lie. You and your dragons are nothing but a plague. Frantically, I chant the negative, begging him to just listen, but I stop my slur of words at the round of chuckles that leave his lips. Luckily, I now have a way to cure this disease. Only dragons can find the nest, huh? My wide, terrified eyes snap up to meet Kaken's own seething, narrowed ones. He knows. He must have followed me last night, and now he knows. But my father wouldn't. He would never, and yet he would. I start thrashing in the chief's rock-hard grip, tears streaming down my cheeks. Kaken. Run. Get out of here. My voice becomes raw with desperate screams as I plead to the dragon to escape. To somehow escape. He doesn't back down, however, a suffocating anger radiating off of the dragon in waves. He takes a threatening step forward and the blade is back to my throat. Some part of me acknowledges the wet streak dripping down my collar, but in the end that line just blends in with the tears. Hisashi scolds. I wouldn't do that if I were you, dragon. If I was startled my hand just might slip. The wrath doesn't leave Kaken's eyes, but he does halt his movement forward. A sense of relief washes over me at this new development. Maybe Kaken will leave and never look back. Now here's the deal, dragon. You take me to the nest, and I just might not kill this abomination I'm forced to call son. A second later I hear Hisahi spit on the grass. W8. No, please. I cry in desperation as he begins to drag me out of the bowl. Just take this out on me, be mad at me, just please don't hurt Kaken. A low chuckle sounds right next to my ear. Don't worry, Izuku. After I find that nest and destroy every dragon there, I'll do the same to you. Panic rings in my head as we stumble out of the rock passages. Behind the wall an earth-shattering roar bellows and I hear sharp claws against it. Why is he coming? He shouldn't be coming. Doesn't he understand what my father is going to do? I gulp, trying to add firmness to my voice to hide the fear. Please, it's not what you think. You don't know what you're up against. It's nothing like you've seen. We stumble again and I'm able to wrench free enough to rotate my body halfway. I promise you that you can't win this one. For once in your life dash. Me. I tremble at the sight of the man before me, his eyes showing nothing but loathing. They're unforgiving, cruel, and so much more inhumane than any of the dragons that I've met. With clenched teeth, he throws me off of him once more. You've cast your lot in with them now. You're not a warrior. You're not my son. And that's when it feels like the world is crashing around me. Everything is spinning and nothing makes sense. As soon as one thought floods my mind, it is drowned out by another until I'm left surrounded by a thundering ocean. I barely register the quirk of my father's lips, or the warning growls of a dragon who scrambled out of his rocky cage, or the thinning forest that symbolizes us nearing town. And then I'm screaming. I'm screaming so loud that birds flee the trees and wind turns in shame. It should, because even thought the only word that leaves my burning throat is, help. I've never meant any word in my life more than this one. The next thing I know we are at a cove near the docks, hidden beneath the sprawling shadows of the cliffside. The rock's jagged edges cut into my back and a shaking hand crushes my windpipe. Choking on my own saliva, I blurrily peer past Hisashi to see heavy chains snaking across the ground. Wearily, I look back at the man to see him smiling. Dragon. Either willingly get in those chains or I will squeeze the life out of this Deku before your very eyes. A final, broken sob tears out of me as my head is slammed into the cliffside. Suddenly the pressure against my throat is gone and I crumple to the pebbly beach. I faintly hear metal rattling in the background and shouts from above. The village. The village is here. They heard my cries for help. Someone help. My son's been injured. A chorus of gasps, curses, and enraged yells ring through the air. Is that a Kagutsuchi? Hurry, kill him. No. He has far more use than that. Ready the ships. My senses fade to the low growls of Kaken, the friend who I just inadvertently sent to slaughter. I languidly blink, straining up at crisscrossing wooden beams. Below me, soft sheepskin tickles my calloused hands. To the side, moonlight pools on the floor. It all feels surreal, peaceful, perfect. But nothing's ever perfect. I shoot up into a sitting position, my breathing becoming erratic. Kaken. Where's Kaken? I search around the room with saucer-sized eyes. My room. A gentle hand presses onto my shoulder and I follow it, leaning down back into my cot. The room pans out and I find myself standing by the window, watching a sniffling little boy and the back of a woman's head. Shoo, Izuku. It's okay. I'm right here. She gently strokes the boy's my hair, whispering soft nothings. Did you have another nightmare? The little me chokes out a sob and unexpectedly I once again lie in the bed, staring up at warm green eyes, plump cheeks, huggable sides. Mom. I quietly gasp, not wanting to break whatever tentative moment we have together. She smiles. Hi, sweetie. You look upset. Want to talk about it? Her kind voice prods at my heart until the river dam breaks open and I'm sobbing into her chest. They took him, Mom. They took Kakin. They took him. My dragon, my friend. They took him. They took him. Shivering, I lean in farther, basking in her warmth. I've lost Dad, the tribe, Kakin you. I choke out as another wave of tears hits. Honey, why didn't you kill that dragon? She pulls back minusculely to look right at me, tears of her own about to overflow. I don't know. You must, because I do. I glance up and swallow thickly. Because he looked as frightened as I did. There are a lot of differences between us, but in that moment, I looked at him and saw myself. A pause. I bet he's really frightened right now, Izuku. Maybe, but he wouldn't admit it, I think fondly. Instead I say, but Mom, what can I do? I'm not brave and strong. I'm not like a Kakin. I'm not a warrior. Oh, sweetie. That's not true. You're my little warrior. And isn't that what your friend needs right now? Not a warrior, but you. She smiles at me and I return the gesture with a wobbly grin of my own. At this moment I feel just a bit of hope seeping into my veins. Now get some rest, sweetie. I nod, dipping down into my cot. She places a kiss upon my forehead. I love you, Izuku. I love you too, Mom. I shoot up out of bed. The world tips slightly as my vision is filled with colorful feathers. Izuku. I rip my head to the left, causing another spinning spells, and frantically reach for Shuzenji. Where are they? Where's everyone? Where's Yagi? I desperately ask, words tumbling out. She frowns and tries to lead me into a lying position once more. The warriors, including Toshinori, left yesterday for the nest. With that I push up, scramble out of bed, and stumble away from the hut. Behind me she calls, telling me I need to rest, but that just pushes me on. Hot blood pulsates in my legs as I sprint through the forest. They have to be there. They have to. Sweat drips down my flushed face when I burst into the bowl. Abruptly, I'm thrown to the ground, where the human Ijiro shoves his nose under my chin and breathes deeply. All the other dragons, who were previously whimpering behind boulders, are soon on me as well. Eventually though, they pull back and Ijiro is helping me off the dirt with a firm grip. Sorry, man. It's just been rough. We've been trying to surround ourselves with Katsuki's scent but... I interrupt, not wanting to waste any time, before hardening my gaze, but I'm going to fix this. I'm going to get him back if you'll have me. Ijiro's shocked, open lips morph into a sharp grin accompanied by a spark released by Denki. Mina playfully taps me with her tail while Ochako purrs. And Shoto he's happy I think. The redhead then leans over and moves me farther into the bowl. So bro, what do you have in mind? With the hint of a grin twitching on my face I reply, it's crazy. Oh, don't worry man. We love crazy. I grip the Hachiman's horns a little tighter as we near the mountain, and through the thick fog I hear shouts in the distance and pops of fire. We can't be too late. We just can't. Diving down, we burst through the fog just in time to see the nest keeper reel back for another shot. And in the direct line of that shot is Yagi. Frantically, I look around to see most warriors fleeing back to burning ships. They won't make it without a distraction. Ijiro. I yell, signaling to fire at the back of the beast's heavily protected head as we get closer. I had initially been worried that the dragons would fall prey to the wrong alpha's pheromones, but the redhead assured me that Katsuki would be nearby. Furthermore, entrapping omegas and betas would be the least of the nest keeper's priorities right now. We circle around the monstrous dragon while I glance over at the clan that is staring up in confusion, awe, fear. I turn back to the mission at hand. With a deep breath I start speaking loudly to Kakin's pack, hoping to not be drowned out by the commotion below. From what I can tell, the nest keeper relies a lot on scents. Besides detecting pheromones, it obviously just has large nostrils. I scan its body again, as well armored as one should expect from an ancient alpha. Okay, stay in its blind spots, keep it distracted, make it mad. I'll be back as soon as I can. With that, Ijiro and I swerve left towards the half-burnt fleet, leaving the rest of the pack to their task. We fly high, looking back down over the ocean to get a better view. Suddenly I hear a familiar roar and a sense of relief washes over me. Kaken's alive. There. Ijiro growls and plunges into the fiery obstacle course of masts. We get in close and before I can think I'm jumping off of the Hachiman's back and onto a ship. There Kaken is, locked up in a cage of wood and metal, restraint snug to his neck, leather-strapped muzzle around his jaw, heavy chains pushing down against his sides. I quickly turn back to the hovering dragon. Go help the others. We'll be there soon. Ijiro eyes me and the surrounding ships, face full of conflict ion, but then nods and flies away. I snap back to the task at hand, ignoring the growing heat around me as I yank off the muzzle. I'm so sorry, Kaken. I'm so sorry. Muttering those words over and over, I reach back for a sword tossed haphazardly on the deck. Grabbing it, I bring the blade to thick chains, attempting to pry them away. Sweat rolls down my temple. My head throbs. My fresh wounds sting. Just then I hear an angry shout and tensely turn to see my father standing on the rocky beach, glaring daggers at me through the fire. His gaze is seething, burning into me as if I'm the greatest disappointment known to man. But with what he's done to me and my friend, even if for the sake of mother, I honestly can't find myself to care what Hisashi thinks right now. Protectively standing between him and my dragon, I hold the man's eyes with a glare of my own. She wouldn't have wanted this, you know. Mom. She would have wanted better for both of us. Don't speak of her like you know her. He bites back across the way. My fist trembles at my side and I'm about to open my mouth once more when an ear-splitting roar breaks from the nest keeper. It spins around, swatting at Denki, and in the process its tail hits a ship over. A charcoal mast slams down onto our crumbling deck, sending a ripple effect across the boat. Suddenly Kaken roars, the wood gives way under him. I stare in shock as he disappears into the murky, upset waters. And then I'm diving in, barely registering the frigid waters that seep into my marrow. I desperately push down, reaching for the dragon's rig. He thrashes about, trying to shoot fire, but freezes when I appear in his line of sight. With a knitted brow, I tug against his restraints. Then I tug harder. Air bubbles out of my nose as I pull and pull and pull. It's not working. Why isn't it working? I want to cry in anger and fear and exhaustion, but the water hits against my eyes and keeps the tears in. My throat burns, begging for air, needing me to resurface, but I can't leave Kaken. All my thoughts focus on the dragon, nothing else. Even when water fills my lungs, I focus on him. Even when darkness lines the corners of my vision, I focus on him. And then I see a light, bright and warm and powerful. A tuft of blonde hair drifts in front of me as strong hands grab my wrists. The last thing I feel is being pulled into a solid chest before everything goes black. With a gasp fresh air bursts into my lungs. Coughs rack my body and I roll over, pressing my wet skin against a blanket of pebbles, trying to just calm down and breathe. A warm object gently rests on the small of my back, coaxing me to move into a sitting position. I follow, looking around with stinging eyes at the protective overhang keeping me on a more secluded part of the island. It's then that I remember the battle raging on around the bend. It's then that I remember Kaken. Whipping backwards, about to scramble towards the ocean, I halt when a strong hand lands on my shoulder to stabilize my jerky, desperate movements. Hard, searching, vibrant crimson eyes burn through my cold skin. I know those eyes better than almost anything else. My thought is confirmed when I glance down at the place where a foot should be. Down. Oh. An untimely blush creeps up my neck as I duck away. Ijiro was naked too when he first transformed, save the well-placed scales, but I sneak a peek back at Kaken didn't look like that. Kaken, I distractedly notice, is otherworldly. However, these thoughts lessen when the nest keeper roars again, giving way to something more. Kaken transformed. He never transforms. He might have even rather let himself drown than transform, but he did it to save me. A mixture of pleasure and fear blooms in my chest. Today has been full of too many risks. But we have to keep going. I take a step forward after noticing the saddle and tail rig pushed up against the shore, waves lulling into them. Squeezing my eyes shut, I try to summon every thread of confidence that I have left. Kaken, we need to talk. I want to talk, but not now. I'm sorry. In response, the blonde snorts, tendrils of smoke puffing out his nostrils. I try not to stare in amazement for too long. And then suddenly he's leaning in my space, balancing with feline grace on his one foot while looking down. Though not that much taller than me, I still feel dwarfed in comparison when without my consent my eyes roam his muscled chest. The red on my face strengthens, causing Katsuki to smirk, however I still detect a bit of concern and apprehension in those striking, red eyes. Maintaining my gaze, I smile. Thank you for saving me, Katsuki. Quickly, I tense when the other teen frowns at my response. He leans impossibly closer to me, his eyes looking a little distracted when he rubs a strand of my hair between his fingers. It should be weird, okay, it's a little weird, but it's also safe. Abruptly he pulls back, eyes slightly wider than usual. And then he's speaking in a dry, husky voice, which sends tingles cascading down my spine. Kaken's fine, or whatever. Alright, we awkwardly look off in different directions, letting battle cries fill the space between us. Taking a chance, I dart my gaze back on the man, his fingers clenching and unclenching in a fixed pattern. A tell, I recognize, like his tail. And then it hits. This is still Kaken. This is my dragon, human form or not. After hesitating for a brief moment, I reach forward and touch his bicep. All it takes is one look at my determined eyes and ready smile for that classic smirk to bloom back across his sharp features. Almost immediately I'm slipping the saddle on him, which is second nature now, and we rocket into the sky. Once in the air, we fly over a crowd of warriors, gaining altitude in order to better assess the enemy. Rounding, I the massive wings tucked at its sides. We need to get that dragon away from the clan. That thing has wings. Let's see if it can use them. I lean in as the Kagutsuchi plummets, adding a growl to the dive. Below, his pack instantly gets out of the way, and then comes the all-powerful crackling growing in my dragon's throat. I'd be lying if I say that the shocked gasps of the warriors on the ground doesn't fill me with pride just a little. Maybe they'll recognize a dragon fighting for them. Maybe they'll even feel a twinge of guilt. The second one is a stretch, but it's a hope I need when dive bombing a disturbingly large and deadly lizard. The next thing I know, I'm reeling back from the explosion launching out Kaken's mouth. We pull up as the fire spreads and the nest keeper bellows. I chance a look over my shoulder. Well, on the bright side, it can fly. Below me Kaken snorts and swerves into a line of sea stacks, weaving through the fog while my foot's flying. Behind us the nest keeper is quick to follow, roaring again as it smashes through the rock towers, making it rain boulders into the dark waters. We keep pushing on, but the maneuvering is only slowing us down, keeping us at an even pace with the larger but more direct dragon snapping away. Biting my lip, I peek up as the fog around us clears slightly. Above I see dark, festering clouds. Okay, Kaken. Time to disappear. And then we're climbing, pulling forward. My head spins slightly at the quick changes in height and pressure, but we keep going until we break through the puffy lining. We hover in the clouds and an uneasy feeling settles in my gut. Sure, the other dragon can't see us, but we can't see it either. Strained silence fills the void as we wait for an indication of its position. As soon as it roars, we dive into action, hitting its thick skin with a fireball. I notice a hole burn through its wing before we melt into the gray once more. The nest keeper roars again, and I listen to the gas hissing from its lungs before it fires into the clouds, dangerously close. The cloud lining won't help much if it can smell that well. We need to finish this as soon as possible. Keep going, Kaken. We dive yet again, flashing in to hit and then disappearing. It's not the most direct method, and I can tell my dragon's immediate irritation by his low growls and twitching ear plates, but it's the safest option we have. Swerving again and again, we slowly beat at the other powerful alpha dragon, ducking and twisting and turning. It bellows close by, causing me to cringe as my eardrums sting. A few moments later when I reopen my eyes I see a wave of hot orange radiating towards us. Watch out! We turn away, but not fast enough to avoid damage to the fin. That's not a good sign. Hopefully we've done enough harm to the other dragon. Okay. Time's up. Let's see if this works. We fly directly toward the nest keeper, skimming right in front of its face. My dragon growls out something that has the other shaking in anger and then it's chasing after us. The Kagutsuchi's wings pump as he pushes us toward the island far below. I glance back at the nest keeper's mouth, hardening my own features. We have to get this right. Stay with me, Kaken. Just a little bit longer. In response, Kaken growls, his ear plates still managing to flick in annoyance even at a time like this. If I wasn't so scared and cold, I'd probably smile at him. As the nest keeper's hiss sounds behind us, I place a tentative hand on my dragon's side. Hold. Hold. Now. Kaken whips around, catching eyes with the other dragon, before shooting a blast straight into its open mouth. The gas in its throat instantly catches fire, causing a ripple of flames to shoot down its innards. The dragon roars in pain, stretching its hole-filled wings out in a futile attempt to slow down. As we turn forward again I feel a pang of sadness in my heart. However, I don't have time to focus on the guilt now as the ground rushes toward us, large dragon hot on our tail. With the flick of my foot, Kaken roars and spreads out his wings, pedaling back while the nest keeper hurtles toward the rocky beach. Then it hits. A deadly inferno expands around us, the nest keeper disappearing into its own burning self. Eye-watering, I click the pedal, dogging the flames as best I can. We climb through the painful heat, desperately trying to break into a pocket of fresh air. Almost clearing all the fire walls, I choke on smoke when the creature's flail-like tail swings our way. Immediately I slide the foot pedal again only for nothing to happen. The last remnants of the protofin flutter away like embers. Fear grabs hold of all my senses as my dragons. Knocked with the large tail. And then I'm falling, and everything's so hot and bright and cold and dark and... I hope Kaken flies away with his pack. I hope he finds better than this. Where am I? I feel scratchy wool draped across my feet. What happened? My head is stuffed with cotton. Why is everything sore? There is something cool pressed against my forehead. With a puff of air past my lips, I delicately allow my eyes to flutter open. Wooden beams sway above, bending and leaning through the haze. Quickly accepting that the ceiling is dancing, I next try to swallow. However, my throat is strangely dry, and upon raking my front teeth over my bottom lip, I find the flesh to be a bit cracked as well. My eyes droop in dissatisfaction, a feeling which only grows when partnered with the painful twisting of my gut. I'm hungry. A newfound determination blooms in my belly as I stiffly roll to the side, only to be stopped by a solid, muscled pole caging me in. Wearily I blink before slowly trailing my gaze up to an ocean of red and gold. The room rights itself and my hunger instantly vanishes. Next thing I know, my arms are heavily slung across the other's shoulders, using his broad body as support to keep me in an upright position. Kaken. I wail, relief hitting me like a tsunami. Kaken's alive. Kaken's here. Wait. Reeling back, my hands fly about haphazardly as I stare wide-eyed at the now thankfully clothed alpha. Oh no, oh no, oh no no no. Kaken, you can't be here. My eyes flash around the house, searching for any signs of danger. Okay, it's okay. We can sneak you out. No one will know. Everything will be okay. A gentle hand pressed against the crown of my head instantly stops my rambling. I look back up into amused red eyes. Kaken's not worried. What's going on? What happened? His smirk shifts into a frown. What happened is I had to save your sorry but from being torched. And that makes me do a double take. I'm talking to my dragon. More importantly, my dragon's talking back. Which yes, he did that once before, but how on earth does one get used to this? I wonder if I will even ever have a chance to get used to it. With a groan, I tug my hand up to rub my crusty eyes. Cold metal presses into my face. Cold metal from a metal hand, connected to my forearm by 2 cold metal bars and rough leather straps. Everything goes numb. I don't understand. A defeated sigh escapes Kaken's lips as he grabs the metal hand and holds it in his own, probably warm, one. He then glances towards the floor. Towards his own metal foot. I can't believe I'm saying this, but hey, we kinda match now. A boisterous laugh comes from the doorway, causing us both to instantly snap up. My panic rises when I see Ijiro standing there. Way to comfort your omega, bakugou. In response, Kaken growls. What do you want, dipshit? Ijiro just shrugs. Yagi wanted to know if Izuku was up. I don't know. What does it look like to you, shitty hair? He bites back, moving to shield me from the entrance. It looks like you haven't slept in days. Come on man, Izuku will be fine. You need to get some rest. The redhead steps cautiously forward and my dragon snarls. The aggressive sound grows when Toshinori appears. Izuku, my boy. Laughing while hastening across the room, his thin arms come to surround me. The blonde stands to block his path, but Toshi keeps laughing, easily sliding past the blonde and up to me. With a shaky smile I lean into his hold, relaxing at his familiar, constant presence. Toshi, can you please tell me? I frown down at the metal hand, everything. He pats me on the back with a sigh before turning to face the 2 dragons. If you men could please give us some space. Ijiro nods, beginning to back out the room. Kaken however, growls, sparks popping from his fingertips. He starts to open his snarling mouth but I quickly interject. Please, Kaken. His burning eyes snap to meet my own hopefully reassuring ones. I don't really understand why he's so upset right now, but I decide to focus on that later. At the moment I really do need to understand what's happening in the village. The dragon seems on the fence about budging, but thankfully Ijiro steps in, whispering something in his native tongue. The blonde huffs, throws another glare at Yagi, and storms out of the room, Ijiro hot on his heels. Oh, Izuku. Almost forgot, thank you. Not from just my pack, man, but from all the omegas and betas under that ancient alpha scent who got free. Then, with a lopsided grin, the redhead jogs outside, flinging the door shut on his way. With the 2 expressive dragons gone, me and my mentor sit in uncomfortable silence. To fill the space, I drag a water cup off of the bedside table with my real hand and tip its contents down my rough throat. As I gulp down the cool liquid, Toshi speaks. I know it will take a while to get used to. He unconsciously places a bony hand across his side. And maybe you never will, but I used all my knowledge in the short time span. He glances down at the metal hand. The wrist is immobile, but we can make new designs in the future. You should be able to complete most tasks though. I watch as Yagi shifts uncomfortably, guilt etched across his tired features. The fingers are held at extension by 4 springs fixed into the palm. Then with sprockets controlled by metal levers, the appendages can be flexed or kept in position. Much more advanced than the wooden pegs in my youth. He chuckles in a pained way and I instantly reach over with the metal hand to touch his forearm. Blinking back tears, I smile up at the man who's taken care of me all these years. Thank you, Toshi. A wet drop rolls down his own, sunken cheek. Of course, my boy. The silence of the next few minutes is much more relaxed and homely. But the issue of the dragons in Yui still needs to be addressed. My mentor sets down a small bowl of broth before me, and after a delicious slurp, I start. Where's my father? He places his own bowl on the table. Ah, right to it. He rubs a hand over his dark eye bags. He left. Why? Yagi startles, staring over at me with furrowed brows. I harden my features and go again, remembering my father's brutal hits and cruel words. Why did Hisashi leave? He's the chief. Actually, my boy, you are. Toshi chuckles, timidly looking down. Well, you are if you want to be. Until then, I'm the stand-in. I freeze, staring over at the wonderful, caring man. You're the chief. A relieved smile blooms across my pale skin. The people couldn't be in better hands. The people. Wait, what does everyone else think about this? I mean, they love you. You're a legend to us all. But they can't be happy about the change. And why are Kaken and Ijiro here, just walking outside? The townsfolk must know. And what about all the other dragons? Are they allowed to be here too? What if someone tries to dash? Whoa. Slow down, young Midoriya. With a laugh, he fondly ruffles my curls, calming me down from the anxious rambling. The people held a vote in the meat hall. They were all confused and stressed about why fire-breathing monsters were fighting for them, and I will say I had to stop more than a couple fights. He chuckles again, but the sound soon dies off into a meditative hum. The arguing was leaning more in favor of storming into this hut and ripping that Kagutsuchi apart. At my obvious fear, the man pulls me in closer. As you can see, that didn't happen, my boy. Luckily, your father practically dug his own grave. Screaming about you being a traitor and how we should go in and murder you. Well, you might not be the most popular kid in this town, but no parent is gonna stand for their chief talking about murdering children. Especially children who ride in on the backs of dragons to save their village warriors. Hisashi lost it at that point before storming away. Honestly though, I'm surprised the man made it off of Yui with his life. That dragon of yours looked ready to peel his flesh off and burn his heart. In my state of shock, I look up into my mentor's piercing blue eyes. So where is he now? Yagi sighs and looks toward the wooden door. We don't know. He cursed something about us regretting this and stole a boat. After that is when they elected me as chief. It definitely wasn't unanimous, Baichio has a lot of pull in the village too. So, here we are. He sweeps out his arm before chuckling in embarrassment. Well, I guess you wouldn't know. My mentor stands up, popping out his back with a groan. Then he reaches a hand out to me. I take it, getting to my feet. The room spins and I tilt into the man, but he supports me as I stumble towards the doorway. It's just an experiment, he explains carefully, grabbing the handle, but maybe one day the invitation will extend to all dragons. And then he pries the wood open. I squint as bright light stabs my eyes, causing me to reel back a step or two. Quickly adjusting, I gasp when I see Ochako's shimmering form hovering a few feet above the ground, some children watching in excitement and curiosity. My focus is diverted by an angry string of curses across the path, where the village pervert and a humanish looking teen with yellow hair and a black streak stand, trying to bite back laughter. A furious woman turns on her heels, disappearing into her hut only to return a moment later with a glistening sword. Expertly swinging the weapon, the two boys immediately stop their howling and bolt away. Am I dead? With a snort my mentor pats me on the back. No, but you gave it your best shot. Chief. One of those warriors' shouts brings us both looking over near the docks, where a group are working on repairing the damaged fleet. Duty calls, my boy. I'll be back in a little bit. However, I'm sure you're in perfectly capable hands. While I'm trying to understand the wink my mentor just sent me, a warm hand pulls me back, spinning me around and jabbing me in the arm. Ow! I glare at my dragon. Well, at least he's acting more like himself. That's for scaring me. Snarling, he tugs me forward, slamming his face into mine and licking my lips. I stumble as he rips away, turning to face Denki, Mina, and Minoru, who are all hysterically crying as they roll across the dirt. What? Minoru speaks up through his tears. That's definitely not how you're supposed to kiss. Breaking down once more, he stumbles into Denki's side. Ha! Like you'd know, freak. Wait, kiss. Kikakin. Did you try to kiss me? With wide eyes, I lift a hand up to touch my surely slightly bruised nose. And then the hint of a laugh escapes my lips. Red eyes to match red cheeks instantly land on me. What? You got something to say, Izuku? And no, PFT, no. Nothing at all, Kaken. Stepping forward, I plant a peck on the teen's frowning lips. I then blush profusely and duck away. Kaken is the first of the two of us to school our features, and with a smirk he nods knowingly. Definitely an Omega. Off to the side, a dual-haired teen steps forward. You do realize you were blushing just as much as he was, Katsuki. Maybe even more so. Also, and more importantly, subgenders are completely based of pheromones. It's just a physical descriptor, not a personality alterer. For example, I am an Omega, yet have you ever seen me blush once in my life? Shut up, icy hot. Fuming, Kaken pulls me away from the rest of the crowd. I smile, but nonetheless change our hand positions so that the other boy's warm fingers are intertwined with my own rather than wrapped around my wrist. He glances down at the new arrangement before catching my eyes. I see the familiar flash of excited competition dance across his red orbs. I drop our hands. Kaken. Why are you here? Not that I don't want you to be, but don't you want to find your mother? I do. I will. I was just thinking that you'd come with us. I give my dragon a sad smile before turning to glance around the village. I have responsibilities too. I just don't know yet. I need to see how the village is running and make sure that all of this is what the people really want. You also need to get better and rest. I turn back to face the exhausted-looking blonde with a raised eyebrow. You're one to talk. You want to say that again, nerd, he challenges with a predatory smile. About to respond, I halt when a younger boy stumbles our way with a large saddle and HRNSS in tow. Mr. Allmight said to give these to you. Cautiously eyeing Kaken, the boy drops a new rigging, saddle, and tail at my feet before scampering away. Thank you, I call out, too late. With a sigh, I lean down to pick up the tail. Oi, you want to go for a spin? What? I sputter, looking at the other dragon incredulously. I can usually never get the tail on him, let alone put him in the air. Don't look so surprised. Ever since your idiotic self decided to fall off of me, I've been grounded. Decided? All I can do is roll my eyes as he snaps off his hinged leg, removes his shirt, undoes his belt, pulls down his. I zip around, waiting until a flash of light cues me in that he's transformed. With a shaky sigh, I slip the fin onto him and latch the saddle. Above us, the sun shines brightly, warming up the breezy day. To the right, Ochako takes to the air, followed by a transformed Mina. A few of the children laugh, poking at their parents to look up, while others hide behind an adult's leg. It will take time to change, I know this much. Still, I can't help but grin, imagining a day when Yui will be a place for all people and all dragons. You ready? Kaken snorts, spreading out his golden wings and pushing up toward the freeing sky. We soar out a distance before rounding so our little corner of the island is in full view. Next, we go high, bursting far above the land and toward the blinding sun. This is Yui. It snows 9 months of the year and hails the other 3. But every once in a while we'll have one of those days where everything is just perfect. When you can stomp out of your house, gnaw on a stale roll, and take to the skies. How, you may ask, does a normal man fly? Well, we don't ride winged ponies or giant parrots. No. You see, we have dragons. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Logsnake on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.